Welcome to Biggest Geekus. We are your hosts. I am Joe.
I'm Patrick.
This is episode 148 of the show, and the date is Wednesday, July 19th, 2023. I didn't change the Tuesday in the outline. Yes, we have special guest here, Patrick, recurring co-host, because once again, Randy has dumped us, decided to turn his back on the show and go do other things, like, family reunion. I mean, he doesn't really have his priorities straight, in my opinion. Hey, we've got Green Apple and Martinson so far. Hopefully, we'll get some other folks in here.
Otherwise, this is just one big talk just between the two of us.
Yeah. It's like that sometimes. It's not a regular day, or time. I might have our dog join us. Entertainment. Well, exciting day for me today. I put in the serpentine belt, and thanks to Patrick here, who gave me a ride to go get the correct one that I got mistakenly last night. I got the wrong one. It was it was not the right one. And with the help of my wife, we got that sucker on there. The YouTube video for it made it look really simple.
They always do.
They have this tensioner, have this little tool, push it to the side, and you just put that booger right in there, no problems. And it didn't work out that way.
Thankfully, the last repair I had to make on my car was to replace the tube that goes from the coolant reservoir to the actual engine, and that was a relatively simple thing to put on after watching a YouTube video for it.
Well, a lot of times they are simple. It's just this time he's like, boop, boop, all done. It didn't turn out like that at all. And this model, I have a 2012 Ford Escape, and there's some sort of tube or pipe that goes right across the serpentine belt. And there's a bit of insulation on the outside of it that's frayed. So it's kind of obvious that it probably touches it a bit, and over time it probably wore it down. It's not a well-designed area for it. There should be some kind of thing that's between it and this pipe, where that pipe should be going somewhere else. It's not very well. That's not a good design right there.
Nothing kills vehicles faster than engineers do.
Yeah. Well, they've got to fit all the engine and components in a smaller area. So, hey, this tube will go right here. This, no problems.
Well, don't know what they're going to do when they have to replace it, but we'll put it right here.
Yeah. All right. So I had to come up with a topic. I wasn't able to let that be Randy's job this week. So I figured I was inspired by an article in the Dragon magazine, or Best of Dragon 2, that we've been looking at here on the show. But instead of reviewing any more of it or even looking at that article, I just got some inspiration from it. And it was an article called Theory and Use of Gates. And in our gaming genre and fantasy, there's a lot of different variations of portals and gates. And we always thought it'd be a cool topic to talk about.
Sure.
So, but we're also going to talk about, I didn't know what else to call them. In Wheel of Time, there is a thing called the Ways.
Mm-hmm.
And it's essentially not certain, but I believe it's a dimension, a separate dimension from the regular world. It allows them to save travel time, but it comes with it's a little risky.
Yeah, there's something very, very similar in the game Chivalry and Sorcery, It's a spell called the Shining Path. Opens up a portal to like this shadow dimension where travel is like 10 times faster. Um, but the realm of the shadows is not benign. There's things that live there that you might run into. But
Especially if you go off the beaten path.
yeah, yeah.
Don't veer off the trail, you will die.
And it's called the Shining Path literally because there's like this silver trail that you kind of follow to your destination.
That's cool. So I thought we could start out like we're doing right now, is talking about some examples of gates and portals. Now, the first thing that came to my mind when I thought of the word portal was the game Portal, which it's science fantasy, science fiction, science fantasy. It's not strictly fantasy like in our games, but it's a neat little gimmick for the game. Kind of fun mechanic that you can use to. It's a puzzle game, and you use portals to solve. You solve most of the puzzle with portals. I think you start out doing some other in the the first portal game. You start out solving the puzzles without portals, and you eventually have some portals, and then you end up with a gun that shoots portals. I don't know. You don't get two guns; you get a single gun, and then you can do the two different colors.
Yeah, it shoots one end of the portal to one thing, and then the second one is the opening of the other side of it.
Right. So, but then you solve puzzles with it. It is a pretty cool little game. But except for you were saying something about the
yes, in the
D&D game movie,
the Honor Among Thieves movie. They and since Ed Greenwood has essentially said that the movie is now canon, they put in a magic item called the Hither Thither Staff, and it works exactly like the portal gun from the games, where you open up one portal on the rock here, and since we destroyed the bridge we were supposed to cross, so I'll fire that one over on the other side on a rock and walk through the rock on the other side. Hey, I did good.
Yeah, I guess teleportation that's already in the game is, not worth it. I don't know what, I haven't seen it. So what approximate level are those heroes in that game, in that movie?
It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell with the sorcerer because he uses wild magic, which means he does like lower level magic, but then all of a sudden when he's mobbed by people after trying to steal their belongings, he tries to escape but ends up casting reverse gravity instead, which last I checked was like a 7th level spell.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really cast anything really higher than that. And the reverse gravity was like by accident. He casts Earth and Grasp. He casts Magic Missile, Shield. But like the wizard, the bad guy wizard Safina, at one point in a single fight casts both Meteor Swarm and Time Stop, which means, she's
he should have won.
Yeah. So not 5th edition rules.
Yeah, because they only get one 9th level spell.
Yeah. Lame.
You might have had it on a scroll.
Oh no, she doesn't use any scrolls.
Magic item.
I mean, I don't know if
they're weenified, so I don't think they probably have a 9th level spell on.
I don't know if they have any lore or rules for Red Wizards of Thay in 5th edition, but she's a Red Wizard of Thay, and I guess maybe they get extra spell slots or something. I don't know.
Well,
Then again, their
guys,
druid can wild shape like 8 times in a day, which if you do more than like 4 of those without a rest, you must be an extremely powerful druid.
well, they do things for the movie.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be canon that you can shape change 8 times a day at whatever level they were supposed to be.
Well, Ed Greenwood had his own complaints about the little nitpicks about the movie, but the story, he said, is essentially canon.
Ah, that's fine. Yeah. So I don't. If I was running a game, I don't think I would have a portal gun level device because in our various versions of D&D, there's all kinds of teleportation. Gate's kind of high level, although Gate does more than just open up a passage. You can compel someone from the other side to come across. But there's teleporting. There's teleport. There's gate. There's can't think of it. The fourth level
Astral
version.
Astral
There's
projection.
astral travel. Yeah, there's astral travel, but that's a little different because you leave your body behind. What's the one where you? It's the low level version. You go just a very short distance. Can't remember the name of it. Fourth level spell. Not teleport. It's something else. But you're teleporting. You get to the other side. Various versions of the game, you might have to, take a breather at the other end because you're pooped. But can't believe I forgot it.
Dimension Door?
Dimension Door. There we go. And then there's some racial abilities for certain classes where they let them do short range teleports as well. But Misty Step. And various others. But I think most of the time when there's a gate or some other kind of weird portal, it's usually part of a module or something like that. Because, the standard D&D spells, there's not a portal. You usually when you teleport, you just teleport yourself and maybe a limited amount of people, and then you're there. You can... there's teleportation circle, but it's still teleporting. There's nothing like the portal thing, the portal gun or that staff. There's no spell that represents that in standard.
I like Martinson's comment. You can find out the main character's stat blocks from the movie by signing into D&D Beyond, so we will never know.
We will.
Oh, hashtag truth.
Yeah. But I can't tell you how many times we've used them in our games. Where, hey, NPC wizard or somebody says, "All right, you should walk through this door and I guess Planescape. Planescape was Portal Central.
Mm-hmm.
City of Doors with Sigil, and that was kind of integrated, kind of like another layer over top of all the other different ways you could traverse the planes.
Out of curiosity, and this is just the English major in me, is it pronounced sigil or sigil?
I don't know. We always pronounced it Sigil with a hard G. Mainly because otherwise, sigil is a script.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rune or something like that. That doesn't really, that doesn't make any sense with just the city. So, sigil doesn't either with a hard G. But so that's how we just pronounced it. It might have been pronounced. They had a little CD in one of the modules, and it might have been pronounced that way in it.
It'd be nice if some books or lore books for games or whatever would make a pronunciation guide for their settings. Like, do you call the race of half elementals Genasi or Genasi? Or I've also heard one of our friends say genocide,
Oh
which
yeah, yeah.
sounds really weird.
It sounds really weird, but I mean, it has all the syllables there that you can do that with, I suppose.
Yeah. Then do you call the demon king Asmodeus or Asmodeus?
Right. Like
I am a fan of the latter.
We always said Asmodeus when I was a kid, but I think we slipped in some Asmodeus here and there through the years. Yes, Green Apple Randy is missing his favorite setting discussion. So yeah, with Planescape, it made wide use of a variation on gates because you had to have. It wasn't just an open door to a different dimension. You had to have a key, and a lot of times those keys disappeared, so you had to get a new one when you wanted to use that gate again. And yeah, that was a pain in the butt. But there were other ways to get around. Yggdrasil, you could use the World Tree. You could climb Yggdrasil and go to different places across the multiverse, different planes of existence. I remember even seeing a graphic somewhere how you could integrate various planes with Yggdrasil for D&D. I can't remember where I saw
I
that.
found it interesting that they used the branches of Yggdrasil to facilitate like planar travel. Whereas there's a MMO out there called The Secret World where Yggdrasil is actually the way you travel between the different realms and stuff. But it's the roots of Yggdrasil, and the all of the roots of Yggdrasil is collectively called the Agartha, which is the name for the Hollow Earth city.
Oh, okay. That's cool. There was in this article, Theory and Use of Gates, there is a couple of interesting variants. One of them is like a nexus, so which is like Sigil, because Sigil is kind of a nexus of the different planes. But this was a city called Tessalon. I have to look it up. Where is it at? Okay, well, I know people are having fun listening to me scroll around this so I can find the name of this city. Oh, there's another cool example is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. That's a gate. Although it had specific circumstances of travel. It wasn't automatic. Where are we? Where is it? Well, in any event, go ahead.
Bringing up another video game example, Uh, there's a series called Might and Magic, one of my
Yeah.
favorites, and they have a recurring spell in that game called Lloyd's Beacon. And Lloyd's Beacon, essentially, you can set up to a number of like teleport points, and whenever you cast Lloyd's Beacon, um, you can teleport to any one of these points that you set, and the beacons decay over time. So
Hmm.
after like a couple of weeks, one of the beacons will go away until you like refresh it. And you can have, depending on your skill in magic, you can have up to a set number of beacons set. And whenever you cast a spell, it just teleports you to whatever one you recall to. It's like a town portal spell with being able to set your own destinations.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool, and I cannot find it in here. That is. Am I get ready to find it?
Well, you're not going to find magic, might and magic in a dragon article.
No, no, no. I'm trying to find the mention of this city. It's Tessalon, something like that. I can't remember, but it's essentially it's a city where all where you can go, you can come across it and then go anywhere else in the various in the multiverse. So it's a planar nexus the size of a city. Um, I've often, when I have tried to start a setting, there would be a tavern that would be the nexus, and I got that idea from a novel I read, well, short novel, um, and the same kind of deal. It's a tavern that you don't really see the walls, the far walls. It ends up going off in shadow, and you can just walk forever. But if you know where you're going, you can travel to different planes. So those are I like that kind of thing pretty well. That's cool to me.
Yet another video game example I can think of right off the top of my head. Another favorite game series of mine, Ultima. Um, they have these like stone circles that open these things called moon gates, and they're basically portals that open up, and the destination where the two portals like connect to is dependent on the phase of the moon.
Ooh.
So during one phase of the moon, a particular moon gate might teleport you to like near this city, and during another phase of the moon, it'll be connected to a completely different moon gate point. And
Ah,
I always thought it was is interesting because you kind of had to keep um, a list of like gate locations and moon phases if you wanted to travel efficiently in Ultima.
oh yeah, that would stink if you weren't paying attention. Right. So we've got a lot of different examples that we can find through literature, um, games, either tabletop or video games, about portals and interesting ways to travel. Um, would you say that these sorts of things are good for a particular level of play?
Um,
You think it spoils low level play if you have that as part of the setup?
it really depends on your setting because setting also dictates a lot about how you can travel. For instance, even the D20 setting Midnight, um,
Mm-hmm.
that one, there's no such thing as teleportation magic because the nature of how the world went to crap is not only were the all of the gods cut off from the planet, and the only clerics there are basically clerics of like Sauron.
Right.
But it also killed dimensional travel, which includes teleportation magic, and it also means no gate spells, so
Ah.
no summoning demons or anything. No,
Oh,
no
wow.
summon monsters, and all travel has to be done on foot or by horseback or whatever.
No bags of holding or anything like that either, huh?
Nope,
Ah.
nothing that creates any dimensional space.
Well, I guess that the Sauron over there is a control freak, huh?
Just a bit.
They do hunt down and round up any spellcasters that are not um, affiliated with the boss, right? So if you're trying to be a good guy spellcaster and you cast a spell too close to one of their sentinel type people, they'll scoop you up. Well, kill you first, probably.
Yeah. Or they could be like, Warhammer 40K, where if you have any measure of spellcasting ability, they just like capture you, then like feed your soul to the Emperor.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something like press gang you into service.
Well,
No?
some of them do that. That's where you
Uh,
get Imperial Psychers from. But
okay.
anybody else, it's like, okay, well, your soul is going to the Golden Throne.
Ouch. That's no good.
Yeah, Warhammer 40K sucks.
Well, it's a little dark. A little grim and gritty.
Yeah, Grimdark, I think, is what they officially call it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Hello,
Um,
Flady.
yes, evening. Um, so there, we've talked about some of the spells. There's also some. Well, I guess there are some magic items like there's the cubic gate and um, an artifact in the game. The what is it called? You open it up, and each page takes you a different spot, different place. Tome. It's a
Tome of
art. It's an
Gates.
artifact.
Yeah. Well of Worlds.
And then there's Well of Worlds. That's a totally different thing.
I know. I don't think teleportation stuff will ruin um, lower level play if there's like restrictions put on it. Like, for example, there's a high level ritual in Ars Magica called the Hermes Portal.
Hmm.
And part of the ritual is that you have to pretty much construct a permanent edifice where you want this portal. So basically, yeah, you can teleport from one place to another, but the teleport points are fixed permanently.
Right. So it's Codex of the Infinite Planes,
Ah, yes.
but it's not a free ride because every time you turn a page, there's a percentage chance that you're going to get hauled off to some demon's lair. So so you've got some for that one. It's an artifact, so they all have drawbacks like that.
Or
But
if you're playing Dungeon Crawl Classics, every spell has drawbacks.
yeah, true, true. And you have Amulet of the Plains as well. I
Mhm.
always, when I was a wizard, I always wanted to grab to be able to find an Amulet of the Plains, but of course Randy was like, "You ain't having that." But
Randy thinks all magic items and all spell casting ruins low level play.
well, having an Amulet of the Plains does give you more options on where you're going to go. It can get you out of jail, but you have several items in the game that can facilitate this kind of stuff. But the The cubic gate has few options. Of course, it's a cube, so it has each of the 6 sides takes you somewhere different. And
Good evening, DM Blackwall. Yes, actually, Randy was supposed to contact you and ask you if you wanted me to send you the T-shirts directly, or did you want to wait to claim one at yours at Big Geek Con if you were going. I guess he never asked you that.
oopsie. But I can understand gates, where they're at, how often players can traverse the planes and go, off script. Good deal. Can be touchy. And I can understand why a DM would want to be in control of that and not just say, hey, random treasure generation. Hey, you've got an amulet of the plains. Oh, that has up to 24 different places you can just go to. So I can understand why Randy wouldn't want that, because he would think that he would need to have to prepare something for each one of those places. Because you can just, say, I'm here. Let's go. Because you don't have instantaneous knowledge of everything on that amulet. You have to try each one out in turn.
Mm-hmm.
And that one, I know what Flady said. Oh, it's an XP generator. The amulet is. The Codex of the Infinite Planes, not so much.
Depends on who you consider the XPs. Are you gaining XPs from other things, or do you become the XP for something else?
Sure. I remember coming up in the game, we would come across gates, and sometimes they would be an archway or a pool, or it would be an NPC spellcaster of one sort or another that would create a gate, and we'd go somewhere. And all those are cool and are good tools for the DM to use to get the players into different places if that's what he wants to do. But if you just hand out different magic items that the players can just go whenever they want, I can see that causing some consternation. Flady wants to know how we're doing on the ticket count.
That reminds me, we should probably count 2 more. I'll get them for Joyce and myself.
It was 15 at last count. Let me make sure. I didn't see any new info. Let's see.
You can probably count 3 extra because my friend at work, Drew, he said, just point him in the direction, he'll get a ticket too.
Oh, that's cool.
But I still have to buy tickets for me and the wife.
Okay. All these fancy things. Oh, thank you, Curtis Francis. You bought something from somewhere on Big Geek Emporium. That's awesome. All right, Stripe verification code so I can check this thing out. It should be 15. If that's 3 more That's going to be 18 once they're all bought. And part of the 15 are giveaways. So, Randy, even though we kind of set 20 as being kind of our cutoff for it to work, I believe we decided that 15 has gotten us close enough. Apart from the fact that we've set buying tickets at the door as a thing. 4-2. Let's see. Here we go.
Speaking of Big Geek Emporium, did Randy think that he'd have some copies of Big Geek Adventures
We talked
available
about
within the next 2 weeks?
I don't really think that we're going to I don't think that we're going to make it because the editing has to happen and we have to send it out to the print on demand folks, and then that turnaround, I don't really think we're going to make it.
Yeah, if it hasn't been ordered by now, it won't come in 2 weeks. Otherwise, that would have been one of my offerings at Gen Con.
Yeah. I mean, we might make it for Big Geek Con, but we won't make it for Gen Con. Maybe I should have said it that way.
Oh, Bruce is upset that we are ignoring Rumble.
Oh, I am. I'm a horrible person. Horrible person. Hey. Where can one get a ticket? At tabletop.events and search for Big Geek Con. Okay, let's read off Bruce's stuff here. Ed Greenwood got a paycheck.
Okay, talking about the movie.
Yeah. Joe should remember the Nexus plane in Monty Cook's Eldritch Wizardry universe. I'm not familiar with that. How did Sophina lose? Oh, Sophina's the bad guy. Lame. Yeah. Gay. Okay. I don't know. This one, I don't know. Wrong, Joe? Are you serious? That's an impossibility. If you read ... Portalist from Frog God Games, you could possibly insert a martial character that would be able to make portals. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, and he shouted out Dimension Door, and I wasn't looking on Rumble. Usually, I have me and Randy looking at this stuff.
I mean, you should probably keep Rumble open, don't you? Can't you actually get like super chats on Rumble?
I have it open.
I don't know. You got me as a co-host tonight. Might not get much in the way of super chats and donations. You guys love me.
You're fine. Okay.
Except for L, but issues. I haven't seen him in ages.
Okay, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the ticket count. I haven't seen a new purchase since the last week, so I will say we're probably still at 15 until Patrick does his little thing over there. And anybody else who here is listening, which isn't very many, but Bruce, get on over to tabletop.events. Let me see if I can get that link. And then I can put it over in Discord. Or I can post a link right here. Let's see here. I will just...
Still using Discord. What are you, 14?
Okay, Control C. I'm still Control C, Control Ving. All right. I posted the link over on our Discord in the Shameless Plugs channel. And I will post it here. There you go.
Yay!
Yeah. So as far as I know, 15 tickets. We want a lot more people to come than 15. I think that we can. We probably can expect more people to sign up or to come. Buy their tickets day of.
As it is,
Especially,
I work on Fridays, so I will probably won't even be there on Friday. But Saturday I work mornings, so I don't know. Sometimes the schedule might always be in flux.
oh yeah, that's no good.
Actually, I'm kind of hoping that one day we can go back to our 12-hour schedules.
That would be excellent.
Yes, it would.
Okay, the way this looks is that 17 tickets have been sold because it's 480. I set it up to 500 available, and it says 483 of 500. So we will see how that. We'll see that when I can actually log in.
Hey, Mr. Terrell.
Wild and crazy guys, yeah.
Two wild and crazy guys.
Talking about portals and stuff. Oh, okay, that's who had it.
Tickets.
All right. That city, that Nexus city I was talking about, is in the Amber series of books. Still can't see the name of it, but anyway, what were we talking about? Something about portals.
Portals, tickets, tickets to portals, portals to tickets. With a 3, if you do indeed have 17, 3 more will make 20.
Sweet, 3 more will make 20. That would be awesome. Tickets, yes, Mr. Tyrell. We are holding a convention here in Saginaw, a game convention, September 23rd. 2 days, $30. That's where there's a link here in the chat, tabletop.events. If you're interested, it'd be awesome to see you there. And it's a very simple convention. It's just gaming and eating. And eating and gaming.
2 things I think 99% of us love to do.
Yeah. They go well together.
Yeah, I'm proof of it.
Right. So I think that another thing to consider with these portals is whether they're permanent or whether they're temporary. Now, if they're initiated by spells or magic items, they're usually temporary. Sometimes they're in these media sources, our games and movies and books and games and stuff, video games. There's usually nothing. Another one. Someone buy something else? Let's look.
Activity on Big Geek Emporium?
Let's look.
Monstrous.
Yeah, there's usually some kind of permanent one. No, it's just I get multiple notifications for purchases. So yeah, permanent gates are a thing. But they're usually temporary. Usually it's like what you were saying with the moon phases.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make it to this one location when the stars align completely correctly on a clear sky, and then this portal opens and and then you can jump through, which can be fun too. You know, just having in every city, like in video games, where there's a spawn point and a gate where you can go to different locations around the world. That kind of it's not. It makes the game different, the tabletop game different. It makes you think, oh, they're doing this because of video games. You know, you put your peanut butter in your chocolate.
Well, that still makes Reese's, so
Yeah, so it's not bad. Not bad.
yeah, with the moon gates, you go to the circle of stones. Moon gate opens up. It's like, okay, what phase of the moon is it? Okay, if it's waxing, gibbous. Let's see, we're going to Trinsic, but oh nope, full moon. This goes to Skara Brae.
But I think
it's some of them are relatively permanent, like the ones in ours. The one Hermes portal in Ars Magica, you have to create the permanent edifice, but it's really just a simple activation to like open the portal between the two points. So
it's a specific. It's a specific.
It's permanent. It's permanent to a point. You just basically open the door and close it,
right?
But the points are fixed, so it's not like you can switch
dial
locations.
in different locations, like Stargate.
Yeah, Stargate. That's another cool portal system.
Mm-hmm. And it's two-way, and they can't always, at least the Stargate episodes I've seen and the movie, they didn't have any control over who was coming. Actually, I don't think in the movie anybody came through the gate, Stargate in the movie. They just used it to go to where the end point was, a particular end point though.
Yeah, they had those things called the dial home device, and you touch whatever rune combinations to lock those chevrons in place for whatever coordinates you're going to whatever planet you're going to. But yes, as long as somebody knew the location of your particular Stargate, anybody could dial in, and that's why Stargate Command made the iris that shut to make sure nobody can like come in unannounced.
Yeah, because that's no fun. All these towns that have gates that people can just walk in the video games.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way video games are normally made. Like you come in and want to start trouble. If you're able to, all the town guards are 100th level. And as soon as you even look cross-eyed at a shop owner, they're going to come and myrtleize you. So,
hey, it's guards from Elder Scrolls games.
Right. So, but if you put those...
Or Forgotten Realms.
But if you put those kinds of permanent structures in your game, it can be a two-edged sword. And someone... Doodle Squatch, yes, Stargate SG-1 was a good series. What I saw of it. Can a town or a city, they can put themselves in a world of hurt by just having an open gate that anybody can just walk in.
Unless they have those safeguards, like maybe they have mages called gate masters that are the particular guys with like the keys to the gates,
right?
Where they can open them anytime they want, but you still need the key to open the gate.
Right. Yeah. If someone can just send their army into your town because you have an open door, not very good security. I remember Daggerfall as a name, but I don't remember.
It was the third Elder Scrolls game, I think. No.
Okay.
No. Morrowind was 3. Oh. Daggerfall was 2.
I don't know, but it's an Elder Scrolls thing.
Yes.
Just not sure which.
It's one of the continents in.
Which release it was.
Tamriel? Or is it
That
Cyrodiil?
sounds.
Cyrodiil is a continent. Oh my gosh. I'm supposed to
I
be
don't
an
remember.
Elder Scrolls junkie.
I liked playing it. The 15, 20 minutes I allowed myself to play it. So I have a very short attention span when it comes to games like that. I'll get in, I'll play for a little while, and then I'll just move on to different things. All right. So I think what we can say about gates, portals, different ways of shortening travel, it's a tool that a DM can use. And if he wants to put that in the hands of the players, be buyer beware, because if I get as a player, I get an Amulet of the Plains, I'm using that thing. Let's see where this goes. Let's see where this goes. Let's see where this goes. 24 crystals. Yeah, we're doing them all today. Boom, 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 boom. Let's go do it.
Flatey mentioned something interesting. Portals are all fun and games until someone ports a nuke into the town square. That could make for some interesting play where the plot centers around the portal in town, and that you have to maybe stop some bit of mystical terrorism.
Oh, sure. The campaign opens with, hey, you got your first level characters in your town. There's a gate there because according to everybody that you talk to, the whole wide world is happy and everybody gets along until all of these demons come through the portal and murder everybody in town. Then you got to go figure out what happened.
Speaking of like Stargate, I think it would be interesting to have a like high fantasy version of like Stargate SG-1. But I'm pretty sure I'm not just rehashing what Planescape is.
No, because Planescape.
I'm actually making note.
Planescape is. Stargate is more going to different worlds and planets, whereas Planescape is dimensions. I mean, maybe that's semantics on some level, but I consider different things. So within the D&D milieu, Planescape,
game design in action, folks.
Yeah, Planescape is a device to get planers, or not planers, primes, people from the prime plane out and about to Plane of Fire, to the various hells or the abyss, to the upper planes where the angels live, and various other places. But that's still, even though the different dimensions have somewhat different rules, physics, and whatnot, it's still a whole, right? Whereas, I guess,
Flatey, to answer Flatey's question, I don't think it'd be Spelljammer if you especially just left it to gate travel and not space travel.
I mean, you could say that Forgotten Realms, that's a planet. Greyhawk exists on a different planet.
I think Toril is the name of the planet for Forgotten Realms.
Right, that sounds right. And OERTH, Earth, or O-Earth, however for
Earth.
Greyhawk. And then Dragonlance.
Ye old Earth.
Right. Dragonlance is a different world.
I think it's just called Kryn.
Kryn?
Yeah,
Kryn. So Kryn's a different world, and there's a few others. And if you had your gate going to those different places, that would be more like SG-1. And that, as far as I know, I don't know that Stargate went to different dimensions.
I don't recall. No.
Just various places of differing technology and different beings.
I think the widest they ever went was Stargate Universe, which they traveled to other galaxies in this big ship that went around tour of bunch of galaxies.
Right. Now, Event Horizon would be more like Planescape, where they opened a door and bypassed Sigil straight into the abyss. Essentially. I mean, that's the way it seems to me. Okay, so Green Apple says they did.
I guess so.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not a I've seen some episodes of the various seasons and I like them, but I haven't followed
I guess I just never remembered it happening. I guess I got to watch it again.
Okay. And Dean Blackwall confirms.
Yep.
So we are wrong. But for the most part, they did just go to other planets. Going to other dimensions seems to have been an exception.
Doodle Squatch, you could invite people to create settings to include in some type of database. You know, if you were going to design a high fantasy version of Stargate, holding some sort of contest where you just, collected ideas from a bunch of people and made a database out of it, I guess that'd be a way to go for it.
I think a cool way to even start that off would be, you probably only do it once this way, but it would be cool to have the people at the table, especially if you're all friends and familiar with each other. I think it's a little less impactful if it's just a bunch of strangers. But you start out, you are the characters who step into the Stargate. So I think that would work really well. You could even have D&D type classes, and you come home late from work one day, and poof, you wake up in a room with the Stargate, and
now we're playing The Strange.
Yeah. And I don't think I would do the whole switcheroo thing, but it would be you guys becoming different people over the course of a campaign, because you'd start out, hey, it would be me, Joe lands in the Stargate room, and you have to make some choices, a class and whatnot. And then over the course of the campaign, you're going to end up being a different you. I think that could be fun. DM Blackwall, are you calling me Randy, or are you calling this other fellow over here Randy? Oh, I get why. Maybe no, we have labels.
Is there a with missing?
I think he's just confusing me with Randy. It's easy to do.
No.
Misty Ped? Mistyped. Misty Ped. So, when I was a kid, the first time I saw the word Chihuahua, I'd never, of course, the first time you see any word like that you've never seen before. I've heard Chihuahua said, but never seen it spelled.
Chihuahua.
So when I did exactly that. Chihuahua, what the heck is that? And everybody, of course, looked at me like I was a moron. Misty Ped. I am going to name a character that.
Misty Ped the magician,
Yeah, something like that.
the dyslexic magician.
Right. So,
If he was a
yeah,
wizard,
cool.
that would be really, really difficult.
Yeah. Now, if you were a sorcerer,
There would be no need to worry.
yeah, in third edition parlance. All right. So I think we've talked a lot about portals. I think they're good tools. But they come in different different DMs will want to use different levels of them. I think that some DMs will probably not want to use it at all.
Literally and figuratively, your mileage may vary.
Yeah, because especially for fans of the OSR who like low level play, I think portals and gates and teleportation and fast travel,
P-word.
yeah, will probably not be used much. But I think that's probably a mistake. If you give it to the players to use a lot, that's one thing in the low level games. But it can still make low level games fun to have a portal or a thing like the waves from um, Wheel of Time, something like that. That can and your game can still stay low, in the low levels, as long as the players are not the ones who are throwing around the gates. All right. Anything else you want to say about gates and portals and stargates and misty peds?
Speaking of portals, the one behind you, is that a kimono and a sombrero like together?
Yes. There's a sombrero up here. This
Okay.
is just a robe. I wouldn't call it a kimono. It's just a robe with a dragon on it.
Oh, okay.
It's a bathrobe.
Because that's wow. Is that really clash of cultures?
I take cultural appropriation very seriously.
Yeah, it reminds me. And also, speaking of gates, I just got a bunch of Kickstarter stuff from Flying Frog Productions for their the continuation of their game Shadows of Brimstone. And Shadows of Brimstone is take the wholesale ripoff of Deadlands, but throw in Stargate. So while you're in the Wild West exploring mines, there may be ancient gates that open up to other worlds, from like the snow covered, uh, plains of Targa to the caverns of Cinder, which is essentially hell, and all the way to like a derelict spaceship, and it's just clash of like all genres, because you may go into a mine looking for darkstone as like a gunslinger. You open up a portal, go to another world, you may find like a laser gun that you bring back with you.
Oh, that'd be
it's
cool.
it's fun. It's a lot of fun. But
This is
they
what
have
again?
several. Yeah, this is a whole board game. The core
Okay.
sets are set in like the Wild West. So you have the preachers, the gunslingers, the marshals, and all that. But they had a second core set run called Forbidden Fortress, and it was set in feudal Japan. So you had samurai and ninjas and sorcerers and stuff like that. And there was one guy in the Shadows of Brimstone group on Facebook who posted a miniature of his bandito character going to like the Forbidden Fortress, and he comes back. He's got like he's a bandito wearing the sombrero, but he's also got a kimono on, and he's got a katana. Oh, thank you, wife. From Forbidden Fortress, this is the miniature for one of the boss dragon Shiryu.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Is that one of those $100 box sets?
yeah, it is. but this one came separate from Forbidden Fortress, so this is if you bought him separately, his miniature and like all this card information stuff probably runs about $20.
The miniature,
Yeah.
but is it
I don't.
unpainted?
It's unpainted. I had to
So
put it
you could,
together and paint it and everything, and
but $20
I
is
looked.
pretty good for a figure like that. I
Yeah,
think.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you'd pay outside of Kickstarter, but I everything I get is I just back the Kickstarter and I get everything.
Oh yeah, that might not be something you can get individually outside
Oh
of a.
no, you can get them individually. I'm just not certain on the price because
Oh,
I've never
there's a
had
lot of.
to get it
I'm
through the
just saying.
store. I just get sent everything
I'm just saying
because
that because a lot
I'm a
of
mark
times
for the Kickstarters.
Kickstarter stuff can often be Kickstarter only. If you don't get it in the Kickstarter, you don't get it, unless you want to pay 10 times that on eBay or something.
Yeah, Hasbro pulled that with Hero Quest when they did their crowdfunding campaign. They had this. You got the mythic box which had David Gwill. I am not certain on the price. that's
What's the
that's
name of
just
the
what it
figure again?
Shoryu for Shadows of Brimstone Forbidden Fortress.
SHORIRYU.
RYU. Yeah, that's just what I paid for the add-on for the Kickstarter. That's like Kickstarter price, not retail.
What's the name of the board game?
Shadows of Brimstone. Let's see if I can find it.
Ah, here it is.
What's the damage?
Looks like $60.
Oh, I definitely got the Kickstarter price.
Well, I think it's the whole deluxe enemy pack. So I think
Yeah.
it's the whole thing, not just the mini.
Yeah, and they have they have monster cards for like 6 different monster cards for him, which have all different like abilities and stuff in it. And there are some really dedicated fans out there who have bought like 6 copies of him, given him like all 6 different paint jobs, and it's like, oh, I have that variant of Shoryu. Let's put him on the table.
Yeah,
Well,
no, it makes
my paint job isn't even the canon paint job for this particular mini. Shoryu and all the box art and stuff is red, and mine was inspired by Shenron of Dragon Ball fame because I'm part weeb. I'll admit it. I know you and you and Randy don't like the anime, but
not
the wife and I
as
do.
much, we'll say. There's some of it I can tolerate. The ones
I still think you guys need to rewatch and give a chance to Record of Lodoss War. That's way more a D&D anime.
We watched Ghost in the Shell.
It's okay.
And I thought that was pretty decent. It didn't have all of the folks running around with weird characters over their faces when they get embarrassed or whatever.
Yeah, the way more straight shot serious stuff. Record of Lodoss was the same way too.
There it be. It's not a bad color combo there too, but yeah, $59 before taxes.
Yeah.
And I looked at the box and it's just that. So it's not a set of other things. It's just a figure.
Oh, Halcyon H, Louis the Rune Soldier. I do love that anime, but it would not be for Joe or Randy because it's chock full of all that stuff he mentioned that they don't like.
Okay. Bleach is a perfect example of a tolerable anime that's serious, even though there's some joking, there's some physical comedy in there too. But then there's that little bear, the little stuffed bear, ruins it to me. Ruins any kind of dramatic momentum or anything like that. And in one of the series, there's like 3 other stuffed animal types where they have not soul gems, but some kind of spirit or soul item that have been placed in them so they're alive. And they all of them most of the time are comic relief, but cringy, in my opinion, comic relief.
Yeah, there's a game series I really like called Persona, and it's the heroes of all the Persona games are a group of high school kids, sure, but they're doing stuff like they're going into alternate dimensions and fighting, shadows and demons and stuff, and fusing demons to gain new personas and stuff. But each game has like a mascot character in it that's usually animal themed, um, and they're played for comic relief.
It started with Thundercats.
And yeah, Snarf. Yeah,
Well, I guess maybe before that there was even the Super Friends had the little monkey.
Yeah, the game I'm playing now, Persona 4, has Teddy, and it is literally a cartoon bear mascot costume, because the characters opened him up and there's nothing inside, but the suit itself is like animated, and part of the game is finding that he has some true form and all that, but the character itself is really annoying, and I just want to strangle him half the time.
I didn't watch He-Man very
Orko.
much because I didn't think it was a good a cartoon that was well done. It was. I was just getting out of Saturday morning cartoons when it came out, so my Saturday morning He-Man equivalent, probably you could say, was Thundar the Barbarian. But I do not think you can. Someone's going to prove me wrong, but I don't think they had a little furry mascot comic relief dude in Thundar. I'm not remembering it if they did, but yeah, my Saturday morning cartoon thing, I think the end of it was Thundar, I think.
I remember Conan had a animated series run, and I think they played that one pretty serious too. No weird mascot characters. The closest thing to that you could count was I can't remember his magician a companion's name, but he had two. He had a brother and a sister that were cursed to have turned into wolves. I think they were called Sasha and Misha. Oh, okay. I stand corrected. They had the Phoenix on Conan's shield.
Yeah,
and the Phoenix was a bit of a dope.
So Herculoids, I would have brought them up. I was thinking about bringing them up, but I didn't know that there was anybody here old enough to remember the Herculoids from back in the day. but they had little amorphous characters in there that did some little bit of comic relief. But I think they did it a little better back in the 70s. It just got too. I tried really hard to like Thundercats more, but that dang Snarf, he's like, okay, I'm done. Snarf comes on. It's like the the it's not comic relief like this, but it's the Smurfs, right? All comic relief. Then you had Gargamel. I was like, Gargamel needs to win because because the the um, the Smurfs need to die.
I guess I guess I can forgive Thundercats a little bit. Every guy my age, Chitara was their first crush.
Oh, she was drawn very well.
Yeah.
All right.
We
Okay.
can
So
we can call
huh?
this segment 1.5. Joe hates anime, but Patrick does not.
I don't hate all anime, just probably 98% of it. Any of okay, my first exposure to it was Akira, which was weird, but not horrible. And then um, the Nippleless Warrior, the I can't remember the name of it now. They made a live action movie that was awful, but anyway, there was the other thing about anime that I don't like is when the two combatants are running at each other for miles and miles and miles and going the whole time. And yeah,
Well,
don't like
hey,
that.
there was a live action movie that had that. It was called Monty Python: The Quest for the Holy Grail.
Yes, tongue in cheek. Um, sure. All right. Anime. I don't have a lot to say about it because most of it is not to my taste.
Not, you know what? I'm not even sure how we got on it. Oh well, extra segment.
Yeah, rambling. Okay. So next, I'm trying to have this recurring segment called D&D Weirdness. Last time we talked about dungeons and the kind of weirdness that they can represent within the game. And the reason it's weird is Fist of the North Star. Yes. That was so bad. It was so bad. Um, the reason it's weird is because when we're playing, we're playing in a game world, right? It's not. It's a fantasy world, and it's a fantasy world where our characters, we play characters that run around in it. It's a game world, so it doesn't operate um, like a normal world might, even a normal fantasy world might. It operates differently because it's a game world, and there's weird things about it. And today we're going to talk about hit points. We talked a little bit about it last week, but we didn't really beat it to death like we're
Oh
probably
yeah,
going to today.
hit points has been, you know, not to put too fine a pun on it, beaten to death.
Mm.
Because like behind the alignment arguments, I think hit points is like the next biggest one. You'll have some people say, "Oh, everything here's some you're arguing semantics," and I don't know, dude. Hit points is either one thing or the other. They try to explain away why um,
And I
and
agree.
you know like fighters will have like hundreds of hit points and uh, you know while the wizards have like still what 30 and they explain it away as, oh, some of this is near misses, luck, and all that stuff. um I suppose if that's the way Dungeons and Dragons says it, but then the cure spells don't make sense because
Right.
curing wounds restores hit points. I mean, you can't. You should rename the spell Restore Luck.
Right.
That and you have hit point bleed. Well, if you're losing hit points due to blood loss, they must be your meat points. But then again, that would also make the assumption that fighters are these giant balloon bags of blood. Gear
Right,
minor plot armor.
right. Essentially, I mean, there. I'm sure. I believe I remember an illustration in one of the Dragon magazines. It was, I think, in the comics section where it had a fighter with 30 arrows sticking out of him, and there's the bubble that says, "Yeah, I'm still good." And some of the arrows are in his eyeball and maybe through his neck or whatever, because you have hit points. You don't have hit locations. You don't have wounds. Um, so no matter how you determine where any particular um, hit lands, it has absolutely no effect on your character unless there's some special conditions, like you're using a Vorpal sword. And according to the Vorpal sword, depending on which edition we're talking here, you roll a certain number off with their head and they die. Um,
I know
so,
Rollmaster has relatively the same spread for hit points. But in that game, hit location does mean a lot because a crit could take way more hit points. You know, getting hit in the spleen. You know, it might say, "Hey, take 30 extra hit points." Oh yeah, and you die a screaming, oozing death in like 3 rounds unless the cleric's gonna patch you up.
right, right.
Um,
And,
I
D&D doesn't have anything like that. It just has the series of cure whatever wounds, cure X wounds, and
uh,
you have a pile of hit points.
Earth Dawn, drink.
Oh, he's
Legitimus is
not
not the only person that's going to do that.
okay.
Uh, Earth Dawn has your unconsciousness rating and your death rating, and it's not two separate pools of hit points, but it's like when your hit points get down to 0 in your unconsciousness rating, um, that's when you fall unconscious, and then your death rating is how many more hit points you can take until you actually like die.
Right, right.
Palladium has hit points and SDC, structural damage capacity. Hit points are basically your life uh, essence, your meat body. But then again, SDC is supposed to be your meat body too. But SDC, taking SDC damage is one of those things where, you know, John Wayne in all the movies, he gets shot a couple times, then he walks it off. So, just a scratch. Yeah, that's supposed to be SDC in action. But if you take a wound and you're like bleeding out, that's like your hit points.
Well, there's a scene in Silverado, another western, where a dude he he gets beat up, horse runs over him a few times, and he's like barely making it, and he gets told they got your brother, and he rips off the bandage and totally fine now. So, um, hit points are a funny thing. Um, there's no difference in operation from full to 1 hit point. Nothing
That drives
changes
me
when
crazy.
you hit 0. The zeros when things change, depending on what version of the game. Either you fall unconscious or you're dead or whatever. Um, there's no real hit locations or specific effects if you get hit in your arm or your leg or your butt. Doesn't matter. Um,
Legend of the Five Rings has a large spread of hit points, and in that system, every X number of hit points of damage you take, you start to take penalties, and the closer you get to 0, the higher the penalties. So there is a difference between, you know, at full hit points, you know, hail, hearty, ready to go, and beaten up a bit, you might be taking some penalties. Yeah, I can't. I I don't like the. I have 300 hit points. When I can take up to 299 points of damage, and I'm still as capable as if I haven't been touched.
Yep, it doesn't matter. And you can set up some weird situations where you have X number of hit points. You know the person that you're facing has a short sword. They're only going to do D6 damage. I've got 15 hit points. I'm just going to walk right by him. He's going to hit you. So what? I'll live. No big deal. And that doesn't happen in real life. If you're confronted with someone with a sword, you're going to give them a lot of leeway, no matter if you're never picked up a weapon or have no combat experience at all, or if you are a Green Beret or whatever. You're going to pay attention to that person with a weapon. You're going to give them berth. Why berth? You're not going to just walk by and say, yeah, hit me with your sword. Doesn't matter.
Game of Thrones has an interesting system for hit points. It's a low hit point game, but when you get hit in combat, you can reduce the damage done to you to your hit points by willingly taking wounds. And it's like every wound you take shaves off 10 damage because you can't hit 0 hit points. You'll die. And wounds in the game is like you subtract a d6 from your dice pool, which is big. But I thought it was a weird way to put damage into the player's hands. It's like, oh, you take an attack that does 25 points of damage. It's like, well, I only have 25 hit points. Sure, I'll take 2 wounds. Oh, okay, you only took 5 damage. No, I'm down two dice in my dice pool. That's
Right.
that's pretty savage.
Right. So, and what I was going to bring up in association with all this is something that Halcyon is referring to. Halcyon H says, if you did that in game, Joe, the walking by someone and give them a little regard thing I was saying earlier, you would take double, triple damage at my table. Right. So it requires these situations that we've been talking about with hit points, for them not to be too weird. It requires the DM to do stuff to make adjudications on the fly, because there's not really anything in the game, and I don't even think there's any advice for the DM regarding this to do anything in particular. So at Halcyon H's table, you don't disregard somebody flippantly with a weapon, or you'll get bit, because he says right here double or triple damage. At some other tables that may not happen. So it's up to the DM to make it as realistic, or whatever words you want to use, simulationist, or less wonky than all the things we've been talking about.
Halcyon also has that Simbita said the same thing about HP. A gun might do 3d6 HP, and you might have 50 HP, but that doesn't allow you to shoot yourself in your head or hold a grenade. Yeah,
Only if the DM wants to enforce his own table rules, you can.
It is a little weird, and I think that's why D&D put in like coup de grace rules. When I remember, maybe I'm remembering incorrectly, but I remember in like AD&D and earlier, if you had a wizard put like 3 goblins to sleep, it doesn't matter if his dagger does 1d4 damage. You go and stick the sleeping goblin, it drops to 0 hit points and dies.
Right.
Because, well, they're most vulnerable. They're sleeping, and you can just slit their throat.
I've known plenty of times the DMC you still have to remove all of their hit points. Hit them lots. Remove their hit points. I'm like, that's silly. But
I think they lampshaded that in the first Gamers movie, where they're sitting in a tavern and uh, Hunk, the giant mercenary who they wronged, comes into the tavern to start a fight with them. The thief gets the sneak attack, and it's like, I got my dagger. Even with triple damage, you're not gonna take down a guy Hunk size. So he like searches for like a ballista to backstab him.
right, that is good
Yeah, that
stuff.
was a great scene.
Yeah, yeah. Right. So this is some of the weirdness that your mileage may vary. You might be very comfortable with just not worrying about any of this stuff because it is a game. We don't need to get too upset about how the game works necessarily. At your table, you might want to institute little things in there that resolves some of the wonkiness of the hit point. Like what Halcyon H said. Because having a truckload of hit points and not having any issues, no matter how many or how few hit points you have, as long as you have at least one, you're good to go, presents some odd situations within the game. You can even do the what about
Especially if
you were mentioning
uh,
spellcasting.
yeah, if like if the only way that a wizard could theoretically beat something is by putting it to sleep and dropping it to 0 hit points by slitting its throat. Otherwise, it'd be totally trashed by the creature in combat. Um, if you're going to insist on dealing 1d4 damage per strike and waking the thing up again, um, you could be completely eliminating the wizard's only way of taking out that creature.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just like one example of something. If you get another gamer's example, the thief who's crawling down the hall keeps getting hit by the flaming arrow trap and getting killed, and they keep redoing the scene, and he's like, no, 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 I'm crawling on my hands and knees, inch by inch, looking for traps. Still gets killed by the trap, and then they just decide, uh, okay, Rogar the Barbarian, I have a bunch of hit points. Just let me walk in and trip the trap. And he goes in,
Yeah.
trips the trap, gets hit by the flaming arrow, and he's like, I only got 180 hit points left. Ah! So
But in game, we're always saying stuff like that. I need to cast my fireball. Well, I've got a lot of hit points left. We need to kill this thing. Go ahead. I'll be fine. When no one in the right mind would want to be caught in a fireball.
yeah, since role playing games are games,
Mm-hmm.
you can metagame think like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's another one of those, your mileage may vary. How
Mm-hmm.
much of just a game is it to you? If it's absolutely just a game, then it doesn't matter. You can metagame to your heart's content. But if you do take your game a little more seriously than just a game, you might want to enforce something that makes you concern yourself with these things. You may even want to change rule sets over it. Uh, Again, I think that's why there's hundreds of role playing games out there, just to
Right.
scratch somebody's individual itch. And it can be anything from whether or not you want to use dice pools, whether or not you just want to roll a six-sided die. Hey, 1, 2, 3 is a miss, 4, 5, 6 is a hit. Um, at that point, I don't even believe you have a game. You just have a let's just see if the die says I do it.
Right.
Which
Right.
essentially most games can be boiled down to anyways, but there's a lot more nuance. But
Right. So I'm thinking that like I was saying before, with it requires the DM to put in however much they want to make it give the feel that they want. D&D has always been kind of a DIY, has a DIY aspect to it, where you have your house rules, and the house rules are what the folks at the table add to the game to make the game theirs, and make them happy and have a good time at the table.
Flady mentions, but eating your own team's damage is a big trope in many war dramas, like when a guy calls in an airstrike or orbital bombardment on their own position. Will they survive? Doesn't matter. The mission. Yeah, I realize that's a trope, but that is one of those things where, yeah, you are thinking about the mission first. It's not the same thing as an adventuring party thinking, oh, let's not have our thief even bother looking for traps because he might set one off. Let's throw the barbarian at it because we know he has enough hit points. Whereas, the calling in an airstrike on your own position, it's like, okay, we'll lose this war unless we call in the airstrike on our own position.
It's usually a last resort.
At that point, it's kind of a last resort, and knowing that you may die, but not caring because the mission came first.
Yeah, it's more of an act of heroism, whereas what we're talking about is more of a meta game. Yeah, I can take it kind of thing. I can't take an airstrike.
I like the old joke of the fighter says, I took a major hit. I need healing. I only have 11 hit points left out of the 50 I had. And the DM says, no. You can't tell your cleric actual numbers. You got to role play this. And the cleric says, okay, you need healing, right? How hurt are you? Well, on a scale from 1 to 50, I think I'm an 11.
That's funny. Yeah. Having to tiptoe around people's tender sensibilities where that comes into play is kind of odd to me. I know some people like it. Don't say numbers, just say, I need some healing. I'm pretty hurt. I'm hurt pretty bad. I'm bleeding all over the place. That kind of thing. I get it. That's just, I don't
know. As into games as I like to get, even I just say, hey, look, I'm sitting on my last handful of hit points. Could I get a Band-Aid here?
Yeah, and we do say that a lot. I'm good. We have a few hit points. We're only down a few hit points. I'm good. I don't need any healing, or I've lost half, or something like that. I mean, if for me, most of the role play stuff is more in my head. I can imagine how a scenario would go down, and I translate kind of when someone says I need I'm down by half. I translate that into, their spleen's hanging out or something. And the cleric goes in there and sticks the spleen back in the hole and then puts a Band-Aid on there and chants some words and patches you up.
As much as I hated 4th edition, they brought in the condition bloodied, where you're at 50% of your hit points.
Lady and me are thinking the same way. Internal organs.
They brought in the condition bloodied, which is you're just at half your hit points, and bloodied is a good descriptor for being at half your hit points. You probably are bleeding a little red.
Sure. Except you've lost half your hit points. X amount of that is the luck and dodging. So it's only really a little blood.
You could go to the cleric. The cleric pulls out like healing potions. No! I got all my meat hit points. Give me the lucky rabbit foot. Give me the rabbit foot.
Rub it on my head.
Anoint my head with oil.
So accept however much of this game, the gaminess that hit points are in your D&D life, or not. Change it up a little bit. Make a little wound chart for your table. If you take 25% of your hit points, every 25% is a -1 on your actions, whatever you want to do. Dog soldiers, intestines hanging out. I'm binned, mate. No worries. I have whiskey and super glue.
That's what I was laughing at.
That's funny. All right. So I think the next time I do weirdness, I think I'm going to do adventuring, because within our hobby, the games that we play, in the world of the game that we play, it's not necessarily true that only the party at the table are adventuring. So adventuring is part of the game world, and how that could affect the game world. How a lot of DMs just don't care. There's no economy built around them and all that. So,
are you talking about like the whole concept of there being adventures and adventuring is going on, or are you talking about the actual act of, stocking up, leaving the town, trudging through the wilderness, random encounters and all that? Yes. Okay.
Yes. Well, because the whole thing can be said to be a little weird, because adventuring, taking on that kind of danger, just as a matter of course, would require a certain mindset.
Because I know in some role-playing games, the act of the journey is its own microcosm within the game itself. I can think of some games like Journeys in Middle-earth. Half of that is playing through the actual journey itself.
Getting there.
And getting there. Torchbearer is another one of those games where that there is a whole set of game rules for leaving the town and getting to the dungeon, and what kind of condition you're in when you get to said dungeon or whatever. But yeah, there's like some games have an entire microcosm of game rules just about the act of the adventure itself.
So just look out for the next segment of D&D Weirdness to be about adventuring. How much of it we get to, I'm not sure. It's probably big, so we might do 2 spots of it, because it's only supposed to be a segment. So,
and that's probably no. I'm gonna have 2 Tuesdays of 2 Tuesdays of Biggest Geekus before I have to leave for Gen Con.
Will you be available next week?
Not on Tuesday. Wednesday and Thursday are my only days off.
Okay.
For right now. If we go back to our 12-hour schedules I loved so much, I would be out of work at 6 p.m. every night, so I would be able to make that. But until that happens...
Oh, well. We'll figure something out for next week. All right, so let's talk about, hey, before we go any further, I didn't do any of the do the things.
Oh, do the things. Subscribe. Yep. Like.
Yep. If you are joining us right now or after the fact, if you're just lurking and you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Hit the bell notification, thumbs up the video, comment, do all those things that help out the algorithm. We would definitely appreciate that.
If we get X number of likes, I won't take my shirt off. All of a sudden, there's 1,000 likes, like, in the next 2 minutes.
All right, so I think the only thing we have for Random Geekitude is we're going to shout out Big Geek Con again for September. We have somewhere in the realm of 15 to 17 tickets sold. A few more. Patrick has assured us that there will be another 2 or 3, and that should put us right close, if not right at 20. So we're definitely going to do this thing. So September, if you're going to wait until the day of, either Friday or Saturday, um, then it's instead of $30, it's $40. So you're encouraged to buy early if you can. Um, if you're bringing kids, please accompany them wherever they go. Don't leave them. Don't let them run around the place. Uh, it's kid friendly, but there's a lot of adults there. The themes at the table might be a little bit more than kid level because
Heavy.
we're not going to tell people what to do at the tables. But we do want to maintain a kid friendly, family friendly environment. We want you to bring your kids. So just accompany them, please.
And none of the GMs are babysitters.
No. I don't think any of the DMs, depending on the age. I mean, if they're a teenager, it's not that big of a deal, I guess. 13 or higher, they can go to a table and play. But probably want to find out how the table's going to go before you just leave them there. But if they're under 13, they shouldn't be running around by themselves. It's just not safe, really. Also, starting at episode 150-ish, Randy has a question mark there, so I can't remember what the question mark is there for. We're going to start doing the giveaways for the tickets that we have gotten donations on. We have I think we have 4 or 5 donated tickets. So if you want, we have to figure out how we're going to do the giveaway. We can't just give it to some random person who isn't going to go. So, if we're going to figure out how to make a list of folks who want to go, but would like to try to get the free ticket, I'll try to make a list of those folks somehow. But we're going to be giving away tickets starting at episode 150, right around there. All right. I didn't ask you this. Is there anything else you wanted to say about hit points? Big Geek Con?
Nope. If anybody watching happens to be heading to Gen Con, come visit the Pointy Hat Games booth at 2803, I think is our booth number. We're sharing with Iron Crown Enterprises again.
Good deal. Let's see. Oh, I guess each of those episodes will be giving away 2 tickets until they are gone, starting at episode 150.
Nate will be at Gen Con?
Let's see. I don't have comments up here. Okay. Good deal. Nate will be there.
Oh.
Good deal.
We're the only booth that has a talking wizard hat.
It's cool.
Which he's been reconstructed, by the way. He looks pretty nice.
Cool. All right. Anything else you want to share? Pointy Hat Games, Gen Con, be there, be square.
I'm imagining many people who are watching would prefer to be square than go to Gen Con.
Well, there are still some folks there, like Pointy Hat Games, that are worth seeing.
Green Apple, no, they are not. They dropped the mask mandates, and they are not having us provide proof of vaccination. Thank God. I hated that last year. In fact, I don't know a single person at any of the booths during teardown that didn't bitch about it at some point.
Look, my wife went to her doctor yesterday, and this particular doctor is still requiring folks to wear masks in their office. And I said, "Okay, honey, I'll wait outside for you. I'm not doing it." I get the frustration. It's weird.
At least when we visited Palladium, the only reason they had us wear masks at first was because there were a couple of their warehouse workers who had family that were actually susceptible. but they eventually had us take them off when those people left for the day.
Right. Well, we will not be having a mask requirement at our con.
Not a big geek con. Mm-mm.
There will not be.
You wear a mask, it better be cosplay.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to, but there's not going to be a requirement.
Yeah.
And there are still folks running around this neck of the woods that are wearing masks all over the place, but there's very few places that require it.
Inside their cars by themselves.
Weird.
Yep.
All right. So I think we're going to move along to the shameless plug time and wind down. If you'd like to support the show, please like, subscribe, and share us where you are listening or viewing the show. We're out there on the socials. Just look us up, Biggest Geekus, and the podcast places as well. We have a few places you can support us financially: PayPal, Streamlabs, Ko-Fi, and Patreon. All of those places. Just look up Biggest Geekus on all of them. Our website. The website you want to go to for us is biggeekemporium.com. We have a lot of cool stuff there. A lot of it's free. There are some suggestions that we consolidate the free stuff together on a page and not require folks to log in to enjoy them. We are considering that. I'm not sure how everybody feels about that, but it's been suggested. We have free stuff. We have pay for pay stuff. We have some print on demand stuff, all kinds of stuff. We have some merch there too. So check it out, biggeekemporium.com. Anything else you want to add, Mr. Patrick?
If you want to support me, my website is pointyhat.games. And if you want to pick up a copy of Elemental Conflux, there is a store link on the webpage that'll take you to Drive-Thru Cards.
Randy and I both have a copy of that. It's a neat little game. We support our buddies. All right.
And hopefully I'll have something new soon.
Yes, that would be great. All right, let me get some things set up here so we can get on out.
Get on up.
Okay, there's that. All right. This is Joe.
This is Patrick.
And remember, if you can't be big like us, then be geeks like us.